I'm quite excited to show you the new calendar that's coming out in our CRM and fundraising software, and as well it will be ported to our Wish software and our counseling software as well in the new year, that being 2014. This is the overall look of the calendar and how it looks. I've made it as big as I can so that you can see it on the screen. I'm just going to drag it over to the side here, and you will see that currently I'm logged in as the administrator, and that has a few ramifications here. And basically there's, first of all, to start with, there's three views. There's the day-by-day view, and in the day-by-day view you can set the range of the dates in this area of the screen here, and furthermore you can browse backwards and forwards as you go along. The tiles on here are color-coded depending on what kind of appointment it is that you set. Now, when you're logged in as administrator, you can see anybody's calendar. When you're logged in as anybody who's not administrator, there are instances where you can see their calendar based on a set of rules that you establish. Basically, I'm set up as administrator, and if I go and I want to see Vicki Thompson's agenda, you will see that I see the same thing here. So once again, back to the views, I've got my day-by-day view, and I can also go and see the view by the month. And you'll notice if I click into the date, it pops over on the right-hand side what's going on that day, but you can also scroll backwards and forwards between the different months. The view that I like best is the agenda view, and it's more like a list. So for example, if I'm looking at Vicki Thompson's agenda, you'll see each of the days in those date ranges that we've got and the appointments that she has. And I like this view because it also shows me the past due view, listing over on the right hand side, so I can see things that I was supposed to have done prior to today, whatever today happens to be. And so those are very quickly, those are the three views that you have. As well, it is time zone aware, so all your appointments are connected to a time zone, and if you are traveling and you're in a different time zone, you can simply change that. For example, I've got our default set in Toronto, but if I want to go to Vancouver and reload that, it comes up now, and you see everything's been adjusted by 3 hours. Just for the sake of argument, I'm going to put that back here. And what you're seeing there is a question that pops up, and it's basically asking if you want to change your default time zone, which I mean from now on that will be what your calendar loads with when you call it up at the first of every day, or not, because sometimes you don't want to change it permanently, you just want to change it, you want to view it for that day or whatever in a different time zone. So once again, you can see your own calendar, and in some cases you can see other people's calendars if you've been provided permissions to do that. And you can double click onto the event and it pops up here, and we'll talk a bit more about that as we go along. The one item I like about this is you can actually create groups of workers, and in our demo we just set up a management group, but you can imagine that you could have additional groupings set up. And when you pick a group here, what it does is it shows you all of the people in that group and each of their appointments that they've got. So if you're trying to plan a common meeting between this group of people, you will be able to do that on here. And once again, that also flows over to the month to the month view, as well as the day by day. The agenda always just goes back to either your own agenda, or if you've got an individual selected up here, it does not show the group on the agenda, just on these first two tabs. So what's interesting about when you have a group selected and you go to create a new appointment, you can double click in here and you'll see you can type all your information, but draw your attention to this table in here. These are all the people in the group, so you can set an appointment for everybody at the same time. So we might have a productivity meeting here, and we're going to hold that meeting. Let's do it on Friday, the 22nd. We're going to hold it at 12 noon for an hour. And I'm gonna, let's say it's gonna be in Winnipeg. So imagine our default time zone is Toronto. We're gonna put this in Winnipeg at 12 o'clock, and you'll see the effects of that in a minute. So, and you can set the type in here, and you can put some other details down in here as you see fit. Actually, that's going to be an administrative one, and I'm going to save that. So remember, that's 12 o'clock in Winnipeg. Oh, and I forgot to select my attendees, of course. So basically, it could be all of the people, or maybe it was just some of the people, like maybe it's just Jim and Vicky in this case. So when I save that, what you see is Jim and Vicky on Friday. Notice it's showing up at 1 o'clock because we're currently showing in Toronto as your time zone, and this appointment was for noon hour in Winnipeg, which is 1 o'clock in Toronto. So that's exactly how you want that to appear. So that's a really quick look at the setting of the time zones. There's also a quick entry up here. Basically, you would just pick a time, you put a time in and an ending time and a detail. So it's a little bit less, has a few less items on it, but you can enter it quickly on here as well. As you do things, and as things get completed, like for example this one down here that Vicky has is prepare for meeting. If we go into that and we mark it as complete, you notice that it falls off of the calendar that you're viewing at, and it's a little bit more pronounced if I switch back to Vicky here, for example. You see it's no longer on Tuesday, which is where it did appear before. But if I want to see all the completed items too, I simply tick this checkbox up in the upper right corner, and you see it pops up, and the colors change because it's actually being completed. So that's just an additional feature that when I wrote the calendar, I really like to get things off my screen when they're done, but I hated the fact that I always had to delete them. With this calendar, you don't have to delete, you simply mark it as completed. That's a fairly quick run through of the calendar feature that is in the program. If you have if you're running the CRM software and the fundraiser, which of course this is being reduced in at first, aside from basic events, you can actually construct constructions at this conversations at this point, and you would do that by tying it into prospect or customer and who you spoke with, and you attach it to a campaign. For those of you who are using a fundraiser or our CRM software, this will be familiar to you. And you can put some notes in here, and you can schedule a follow-up. So let's say we're going to follow up on the 28th, and who it's going to be followed up for. So we'll do it for the administrator, that'll be fine. And you can set a time. If you don't set a time in here, it goes as a to-do item, which means it basically has no time attached to it, and it'll pop up on that day. And maybe we're going to say we want to call this person at 10:30 in the morning, and we'll allow half an hour for that conversation. Leave it as Toronto, and it's going to be we'll call it a client meeting, and I'll just save that here. So basically, if I go back to my calendar, which is the administrator, and go back to my day by day, and if I browse forward to the following week, you'll see that's where that conversation came up. So it's a little bit different if you're using this because it keeps track of all the conversation details. Once again, if you're using our fundraising software or our CRM software, you're probably familiar with that capability. Now, what's really interesting about this calendar is if you have the CRM/fundraising software, and if you choose to add on a Grasp Web component that ties into that, you can actually get your calendar and all of your appointment details, as well as prospect information on any internet browser. And just to show you how it would look in the browser, this is our actual live one. So you log in as I just did here, and you get a view that's similar to an agenda view here. You can also view it by the month, like this, and click on any day, for example, and you will have your appointments show up. So there's the agenda view and the month view. And if you are running the fundraiser or the CRM software, you also have access to all of your contact records here. So you could find a new contact here, and if I was to look for any of my clients here, we'd find them, and on the contact page we would have all of the contact names. In this case there's only one. I could call them directly from here if I'm on my iPhone, or email them, or I can call up the information at this point as well. Once again, if I go to the agenda and look up our sales calls that have conversations attached to them on my iPhone, I get the entire conversation history and the ability to change the appointment. for things that are just like an appointment that don't have a conversation. They're very straightforward, and once again, they're all time zone aware, and so on and so forth. So that's a quick overview of what that screen looks like. So when you do have that optional component, you can actually access your calendar and all of your prospect contact details directly over the internet. Anyway, that's a fairly quick overview. The product hasn't been released yet. It's still in beta. You might see that from the bottom left corner of the screen where it's saying it's still in beta. But we've been using it here for about a month and tweaking it a little bit more and more every day. And you'll see this coming out in early 2014 in the Wish software, the counseling journaling software, as well as in the CRM/fundraising software. You'll see this new calendar. If you run multiple packages, you're actually able to run a single calendar throughout those multiple packages, so there's a little bit of benefit there as well. Anyway, hopefully you found that interesting and entertaining, and hopefully it makes you want to find out more about this product, and which you can absolutely do by calling us at 877-759-6783 or emailing at sales@grasp.ca. Contact information will appear at the end of this video. Thanks very much.